So today's fly that we're going to be doing is the woolly booger. The woolly booger's ability to catch fish is unmatched, or nearly unmatched. There's very few other flies that have the ability to catch fish the way the woolly booger does. And part of it's just the versatility of it. You can change all the colors to any color combination you need. You can weight it really heavy, fish it near the bottom like a sculpin maybe. You can weight it with no weight at all and dead drift. There's just so many different ways to fish this. It's fished all over the world and it is a fish catcher. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the tie. So I'm using about a 3X, 4X shank hook here. I like my bodies a little longer, but there will be a full description of the fly that I'm tying and all the materials I use. Or excuse me, the recipe will be in the description below. So I'm just using my wire, and I've got about 2.5 inches on that I use for this hook and this fly. I like to have an idea of how much lead I'm putting on, so that's how I keep track for my flies. It's just I measure them out before I cut the lead off the spool. And I'm gonna weight it forward so it'll move, the head will sink first. Next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and get our thread started. So I'm gonna start right about here. I wanna give plenty of room for the eye. So I want all the materials to stop there before I tie in the eye. Give some wraps into the lead. Secure that lead so it doesn't spin on me. Lead. All right, so then we're just gonna come on back and I'm gonna take my thread and I'm just loose wraps. I'm just getting it back here so the bobbin will hang right about where the barb would have been if I hadn't crushed it. Next, we're gonna get a olive marabou feather and see how the tips of that, see how they're nice, and you want that. You don't want, for these tails, let me see if I can find one. You don't want one that looks like this. See how that's flat and squared off? You want this one where it's nice and airy. So now we're just gonna rake all those fibers to the rear and get a measurement. And I basically want the tail the length of the hook. Now some people, they like theirs shorter. They say the fish short strike on them. I don't have those issues, so that's the size I like mine to be. So now I'm just gonna take this, kind of clip it there, and I'm just gonna incorporate all of that material into the underbody of the fly. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in my feather. Now this is the original way I learned to tie this. I know there's a lot of different ways people tie them now, and we may show those in a later date, but today this is the original way that I learned off of Kaufman's nymph tying manual, I think was the name of it. It was a book I got years and years ago. So tie on that feather, then I'm tying in, let me illustrate that a little better. See how I've pulled, so I pull the chenille out of there to expose those little black threads. There you go. And I want to use those to tie in. I don't want to tie in that bulky chenille material. So I've got everything tied in back to the junction. And I want to come forward. So now just open over the top. And I have a rotary vise, but there's no reason to use it for this. if you have one and you want to, by all means. Just nice touching wraps, moving forward, giving it a little bit of tension. Come up. Come over the top. Just once, twice, 3 times. Go in front of it. Chenille's on, it's nice and secured, and I can clip that off. Last thing we're gonna do is we're going to go ahead and put in our pommered feather. And this came off of this, and this is a Indian saddle patch, which used to be a little more popular, I think, than they are now. And I'm just going to counter wrap this, which is basically just saying I'm gonna go under and then over the top towards me. And I'm doing that just to add a little bit of strength and not have to worry about my feather falling down into the grooves of between the chenille. Now I'm right up here at the head, or what we call the shoulder maybe, and I'm gonna give a couple wraps. Looks like I could get 3. So I'm gonna put in those 3 wraps. I'll raise this up and clip off that excess. The next thing I'm gonna do is just come in, wet my fingers just a touch, sweep all that material back, put in a head. There you go. Lastly, we will hit this with a 2 to 3 turn whip finish. Clip. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Sally Jansen's Hard as Nails to the head, just for some durability, because, well, I know this fly will be fished a lot. So that is the olive woolly booger. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. And again, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you around the vise.